The disputed president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, has accused the opposition of trying to overthrow him, setting up a coordination council to facilitate a transfer of power. He's threatened action against the 35 members appointed by his main opponent, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya. The captain of the Japanese ship that spilled hundreds of tons of oil off the coast of Mauritius has been arrested and charged with endangering safe navigation. Crew told police there'd been a birthday party on board the day it ran aground last month. The ship split in half over the weekend. Its bow is now being towed away from the reef. President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta has appeared on state TV in Mali to announce his resignation and the dissolution of his government and the parliament. He and the Prime Minister were arrested by the military at gunpoint in an apparent coup. The move has been condemned by the United Nations Secretary General and France, the former colonial power. Paul Hopkins has the story.
Mali's rebel soldiers taking Mali's leaders under arrest away from the presidential palace in the capital Bamako. Inside the car, President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta and Prime Minister Boubou Cissé. No one knew where they were going, and then in the early hours of Wednesday morning came this broadcast on state TV. The president resigning and dissolving the country's National Assembly. "I want no blood to be spilled to keep me in power," he added. In recent months, huge crowds led by this populist Imam Mahmoud Dicko have been calling on the president to step down. The country of 19 million people beset by corruption, a flagging economy and insecurity caused by jihadists in the north. Which is why the rebel soldiers had their supporters. The president's arrest had been condemned by the Economic Community of West African States, the African Union, the UN and France, the former colonial power which has troops based there. Many feel this is a rerun of 2012, when the government's mishandling of a rebellion led to another coup. Violent jihadists took advantage of that chaos to seize northern Mali, and they're still there today. The seeds of this current coup sown during the previous one 8 years ago. Many will be hoping now for a smooth transition of power.
Well, meanwhile, the Irish government is asking people to work from home until September the 13th, unless it is absolutely essential to be on site. New limits have also been placed on outdoor gatherings, and ministers are telling people to avoid public transport. Restrictions are being tightened because of the number of new coronavirus cases is rising in many parts of the country.
And finally, one of the most read stories on the BBC News website, which is about the loss of smell that patients can experience when they have coronavirus. European researchers say it's a unique and different experience from someone with a bad cold or flu, mainly because COVID patients usually don't have a blocked or stuffy nose.
So they lose the sense of taste and smell without a stuffy nose,
Yes.
is what they seem to be saying. Okay. Beauty salons and nail bars in Leicester can reopen from today, almost 2 months after they were ordered to close in the UK's first local lockdown. Spas, body piercing and tattoo parlours can also start to trade again, and up to 6 people can meet outside, provided they follow social distancing guidelines. The city still has one of the highest rates of new cases in England.
Pizza Express is to close 73 of its restaurants in the UK, with the potential loss of 1,100 jobs. The chain, which currently has 454 outlets across the UK, has also cut a deal to reduce rents. Its managing director said the decision to close branches was hard, but would ultimately safeguard about 9,000 jobs.
Here's a really interesting story for you. Motorists could be allowed to drive hands-free in the UK next year using new technology, if the government believes it's safe enough.
The Department for Transport is calling for evidence into the so-called lane-keeping device, which you can see here, which takes control of a vehicle at low speeds. The driver still needs to be ready to take the wheel when prompted.
Send us your thoughts on that. I'm slightly sceptical.
I like the idea of it, Louise.
Of course you do. What, you could watch a movie?
I'd have to be like that, though.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
I mentioned that story, didn't I, about drivers potentially being allowed to take their hands off the steering wheel while on the road in a big step towards fully driverless cars. That's top of the Times this morning. The Department for Transport's published plans today to legalise the use of lane-keeping technology by as early as next spring. As exams and results are once again featured on several of the front pages this morning. The Metro has the headline, "You're Gavin a Laugh," alongside a picture of the Education Secretary Gavin Williamson, who the paper claims is clinging to his job.
The Guardian reports the number of adults in Britain with depression has doubled during the coronavirus pandemic, according to official statistics. The paper says the study has prompted calls for an urgent national plan to avert a looming mental health crisis. And, of course, you recognise the picture there of Michelle Obama, the former First Lady, who we showed you yesterday, didn't we? She was speaking at the Democratic Party's online convention, which started yesterday.